You're listening to Saturday Morning Media. And now, back to our show. I have a lot of really cool friends who do a lot of really cool things. I wanted to make it a goal to sit down with these friends and spend about 15 minutes or so getting to know them better and find out about their past, present, and their future. The result is this show. My name is Grant Baciocco, and this is 15 Minutes With. Leslie Carrara-Rudolph is a puppeteer, a performer, a voiceover artist, and is today's guest on 15 Minutes With. Hello, Leslie. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Grant.
It's great to have you on the show today.
I'm happy to be here with Harvey.
Yes, Harvey is here.
That was my mandatory thing. I'll do it if Harvey's here.
Harvey is here. Harvey is the studio dog. There he is. Leslie, where did you grow up?
Pleasant Hill, California, which is in Northern California, which you are also from.
I'm also from Northern California.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's kind of like if you think there's San Francisco, Berkeley, and then you go past Oakland, and there's a tunnel, and then you go into another area inland from San Francisco. So
yeah. When you were a kid, what was the first creative thing that kind of captured your attention?
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, I was pretty lucky because my dad, he went back to school when I was really little, and he went to art school. So he was always bringing things home for us to, there's always, artwork surrounding around us. But one of the things that I loved to do was to make gnome homes in the backyard. Mm-hmm. My grandpa and grandma lived with us, and I was constantly in the backyard looking for fairies, and I would make homes for frogs, which they would leave. My grandpa, I put them in a bucket, and I'd give them a beach towel to lay on. I was creating these little worlds, and they'd hop right out. So I think the backyard was really my fairyland, and I was always really was convinced that there was gnomes and fairies around.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned your dad as being creative, but both your parents were kind of creative, right?
Oh, yeah. My mom, she was like queen of the crafts. She decorated for every single holiday except Groundhog's Day. I'm probably sure she would have decorated for that. But, yeah, she was super crafty. She made all my clothes. She would take me to the fabric store, and I would pick out. I was totally coat of many colors, girl. I had two-tone overalls, and I was just, I kind of dressed like a clown.
And when you got into school, what sort of creative things were you, like in elementary school, junior high, or were you into art, or were you into
I was
performing?
Really into animals. I had a dog, Snoopy, I've always had a dog my whole life. But I would make up animals that I was. Oh, I know. The first weird creative thing I did. This is really weird. In kindergarten, I came up with this club called the Blabbermouth Club, and they had in the gum machine these pins that were really furry with googly eyes, and those are everybody in the Blabbermouth Club had one. And then I had this locket that I would smash pieces of white bread into, smash it, and then we would meet in the tube on the playground, and it was so gross. I would break off pieces of the white bread and give it to the people in the Blabbermouth Club, and I'm like, this is going to turn us into a tiger, or we're going to be a horse when we leave this tube after we eat this bread.
It's like you're running your own church.
I know, take Communion. This and eat, for this is, no, that is so gross, but yeah, I used to just smash white bread in my locket and break it off and give it to people and say it turned them into animals.
Yeah. Did you continue the creativity into high school?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Our high school was really big into homecoming floats and the wall. So we had the homecoming float at our house every year except for one. So you'd mold it out of chicken wire. And did you do floats?
We didn't do floats, but I know we did hall decorating. But so I get what you're.
Yeah, and then my friend Lily and we did the entire senior wall, and so it was, to me. I was the class president every year except for one, and I was a representative. But to me, the reason I was class president with my buddy Wayno, she was vice president. It was a big craft, so we would. We were always making things. We sold licorice out of our dean's office, licorice ropes, at brunch to make extra money. And one time I thought it'd be a good idea if we tied the ropes into knots. And we made a sign that said umbilical cords, 30 cents. We got in trouble for that.
Really? This didn't
obvious.
sell too well?
Well, we left the sign up And the dean was not amused that there was a sign in her office that said umbilical cords, 30 cents.
Yeah.
But that happened.
Now, you are a very good singer. A lot of the performing
Thank
you do
you.
is you do singing. When did the singing start? Like, was that always there, or?
Yeah. My grandpa and grandma, like I said, live with us. And my grandma's really shy, but she really loved musicals, old musicals. Like, when I was little, I wanted to marry Gene Kelly so bad. And I had no idea that that wasn't going to be possible. And I would, like, the 8-track tape, not the 8-track, I mean the cassette tape, I would tape the musicals so I could learn to sing with them. And then when I was 16, my grandma, she paid for my voice lessons. So I started with Letha Wayne, who was I had to study opera first. She insisted. And then I studied with Kathy DeHaven and Lloyd Carroll. That was more jazz and musical theater. And then I was with a theater company when I was 16. So I started when I was like 16, 17. And then when I was 17, I was in a theater company for 13 years. And the vocal musical director, we were always singing in character. So she trained my voice to be able to sing in character. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think singing is one of my first loves.
And when you were with a theater group, what were some of your favorite productions that you were in performing?
Oh, my gosh. Well, I played the beggar woman in Sweeney Todd twice. I really loved that. I know that's kind of creepy, but... And my director said that your neck is too dirty. You make sure you wipe some of the dirt off your neck before Sweeney kills you so the blood will show up. I played Audrey in Little Shop of Horrors. I was in A Chorus Line. I was at the ballet, but let me see. I love that. Finian's Rainbow. Oh my gosh, I did so much theater growing up, but I'd have to say Sweeney Todd was one of my favorites. That was the first time that I really, and then of course Audrey in Little Shop. I love that. Oh, and Pump Boys and Dinettes. That is a blast of a show. That's fun.
And did you go to college?
I went to San Francisco State. Yeah. Uh-huh. At first I went to Diablo Valley Junior College, which is great because, your junior colleges, I highly recommend that because I was still figuring out what I wanted to do. And so I worked and went to junior college, and I was still teaching and performing in the area. I taught a lot of after-school programs. And then I went to San Francisco State, and I designed my major. Which my parents were kind of like, what? And I'm like, I want to be the ultimate entertainer for kids. So it's child development through the arts, and it's therapeutic recreation, which is like designing programs for people at risk, kids in hospitals or seniors. That was my focus, was seniors. Theater arts and child psychology and child development.
And you graduated with that major?
I did. I didn't have anyone to walk with because I designed my major.
Yeah.
So my best friend, Wayno, she, we got a cap and gown for her. And she walked with me so I'd have someone to walk with. She even got, they even said her name and everything. She didn't even go to the school. But, yeah.
So after college, where did you go after college?
After college, I went to Mel's Diner to work as a waitress. I worked there, and I taught at I taught summer school at my old high school. I taught with Pleasant Hill Park and Recreation Department. I taught theater, after school drama, and camps. I was a camp leader, and then I also taught at Walnut Creek theater department. So I did a ton. I just jumped right into doing outreach and stuff with kids. So I've always taught. I was going to go back to school and get a special ed degree, but I kept, I would do theater, after school programs, and wait tables. Mm-hmm. And then I got a job at Beach Blanket Babylon in San Francisco. I was teaching for someone in San Francisco, and they took me to the show, and they were having auditions for Dorothy, from The Wizard of Oz. So.
Yeah, well, that's Beach Blanket Babylon. As someone who grew up in the Bay Area, that was like a thing. It was huge. That was a huge thing.
Yeah, for Bay Area, it's still running. It's the longest running cabaret show in theater history.
Yeah.
But I played Dorothy and Madonna. It was when Madonna was doing the Blonde Ambition tour. So first I was an understudy, and I was Lucy, and I did a bunch of different things. And I was understudy for Dorothy, and then I got the part of Dorothy. And then Dorothy had to fly. Then Dorothy turned into Madonna. Just, it's random. You have to know the show. And then I flew over the audience, voguing and back, and I came down and I married Elvis.
Yeah.
But when I was in that's when we had the crazy earthquake.
Okay.
And we actually sang. I got to sing at the Battle of the Bays. We sang San Francisco, Open Your Golden Gates. I got an A's jacket.
Yeah.
Signed by Tony La Russa.
Now, I may be getting the timeline mixed up here, but I know that for a while you worked at Walt Disney World at the Adventurers Club.
Yes.
And what was that like? Because for people who don't know, the Adventurers Club, I only went once, but it was amazing.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's not there anymore. But it was just this live, immersive theater show, improv thing. And I would love to know how you got into that and what that was like.
Okay. Well, someone from Disney came to our beach blanket, and they said, they said, you should audition. And I'm like, well, I'd audition. So I did. And then I thought, I really am happy in my hometown. But what happened is I totaled my car. I was coming home. I was actually painting windows at the time. I painted windows all through school for the holidays. I was dressed like Madonna. I had my makeup on as Madonna, dressed like an elf. Got hit by someone trying to come off the Bay Bridge and move over last minute. Totaled my car. And I realized I hadn't been anywhere but my hometown. And they had offered me the job at Walt Disney World. And I thought, I'm just going to go. Because I was really lucky. I walked away. That was an amazing thing. So when I got there, the guy told me, I said, look, I really want to work with kids. And they said, well, we'll put you at the Comedy Warehouse, which is a comedy improv show. You can do the first show, whatever you want for kids. But until then, we're going to put you at the Adventures Club. The Adventures Club, a lot of people think it's the game of Clue, but it's a 1930s social club. And so there's, I think, 8 tracks total. The women play either the maid, the club president, or the adventuress. And my maid was Dusty Cabinets, sanitation technician. That was my particular character. It was slightly insane, like Gracie Allen meets Daffy Duck. She was crazy. And then Pamelia Perkins was the club president that I chose to do. She was a lot of fun. And then Samantha Sterling, who's it wasn't always Samantha Sterling. It was Mandora. She was an adventurous / cabaret singer. And then all the guys had different tracks. There was the curator. There was Graves, the butler. There was Otis Wren. So it was like 5. There was 8 characters. And you had some set shows, but most of all, you had to improv from 7 o'clock at night till 1 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. And the maids, every night after New Year's Eve, the maids had to do a 45-minute cabaret at the very end of the night. And all the improv couldn't be, it all had to be from back in the day and things around you. So it was awesome training. Like you were in character for hours and hours. And then Disney would have different improv teachers come in and train us and do different things. But it was magical. And people would just come in and, they'd be part of the adventure, and you'd improvise and you'd make up tribes and all kinds of crazy things.
Yeah, it was, as I said, I only went once, but it was the most, and it was after you had been there, but I wish there was something like it, because there really isn't kind of anything like it. Yeah. And every once in a while they tease and bring it back for like one night, but it's like in a conference room in a hotel, which is not nearly
I went
as
to
cool.
it one night. Yeah, last year I went to Disney, one of those Disney convention things where it was a
D23.
Yeah, I went to a D23 in Walt Disney World because they were showing all the World's Fair exhibits, and they had Imagineers talking about it. And it was weird because I was like, oh my gosh, I know those people. So
yeah,
it was magical, and the people were great. And if you had a great group of people, like my friend Darren DePaul, he's amazing. He's on a lot of he plays Mailman Joe in my radio show podcast.
Okay.
We would go crazy, physical comedy crazy, and prop crazy when we were working tonight. We wouldn't even leave the floor. And there's puppets on the wall that talk to you, Babylonia, goddess of woman and all things fertile.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. Well, speaking of puppets, you are a puppeteer. And when did your fascination with puppets start?
I think when I was going through school, like we talked about artwork, but I would when I was a camp leader, the kids, my name was Wop Frog at Camp Wapaga, and I would paint faces and I would make different things and I would make like sock puppets and stuff. The kids started asking me if I would go to their birthday party. I'm like, sure, I'll go to your birthday party. And I would just go because they invited me. But then this one woman says, can you come to my daughter's birthday party? And I'm like, I can't. I don't think I can. She goes, I'll pay you. I'm like, what? Like, if you just come and tell a story. I'm like, what? So then I started my own business of storytelling. Like, I wasn't really a clown. I was mostly just an entertainer. And then I would make puppets out of slippers. So I would just make characters, usually my dog puppet with a slipper, something like that. And then, so I think it started really young just because I'm obsessed with characters. So, but when I did my show Life in Other People's Shoes, I would draw the characters and go into them. But when the Muppets came to my HBO Workspace show, they said, do you do puppets? And I was like, yeah, but they're slippers. So that show was life-changing to me.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you have done a lot of things in the world of puppetry, and if people can go look it up on IMDb and all that kind of stuff. But you've worked with the Muppets, you worked Sesame Street, you're still working at Sesame Street, but you've worked a lot of different things. But what I wanted to ask is, you've worked with really kind of a lot of puppetry legends.
Yeah.
And, it's like you've worked with Kevin Clash and you've worked with Jerry Nelson. And what is that like working with those legends of puppetry?
Oh, well, I mean, on Muppets Tonight, first of all, I thought I was going to be fired every day because I was way out of my league, and they kept on saying that they were going to train me, and they didn't. So I was taking puppets up to my room, but I basically never left the stage. I watched them. I watched Frank Oz. I watched Bill Barretta. I studied what I liked, Dave Goles, Steve. I mean, I was at their feet. Brian, I loved their chemistry. I felt like every day was a master class. Jerry Nelson was my mentor. He took me under his wing immediately. We picked angel cards together. And he would pick me to right hand. He'd tease. He goes, you guys have those smelly old man in your armpit. What do you have in mine? I'm like, I'm his air freshener. And so he taught me that, Jerry Nelson, to me, is one of the greatest unsung heroes. I mean, I really hope that everybody goes and researches him because he's brilliant and wonderful. But Jerry taught me that he was a brilliant character actor in the heart, and really having the heart of the character and the purpose, that was really, really important. And then, and even my husband, Paul, also, we're really close to Jerry. Working with Carol Spinney, we're going to go visit him. That's also amazing. I feel like I pinch myself when Carol walks into the room. Kevin, I can't even form words how much I love Kev and how much he meant to me and how much he really just worked me and said, hold your rods down low. This is how you look. I learned so much from him and watching. So I feel like I have such a huge respect for it. And I remember Dave Goles like, it's going to be like 7 years before you finally. I'm like, no, 7 years. But he was really right.
Yeah.
I like every single time I put a puppet on, I'm like, I try to pick something to work on. I always feel like it's the first time. I'm always looking, and every puppet has a different look. Like Kevin would say that, and Bill would say that too. The character would dictate with the voice and things, and so I learned a lot.
Yeah. Well, as we're wrapping up here, I cannot I cannot do this podcast without talking about Lolly, which is your character. Lolly, Lard Pop. And what I want to talk about is you do a lot of things with Lolly. You do videos. It's kind of like all media. You've done a live stage show.
Yes. You've been on several of Lolly's shows.
Yes.
Been special guest.
And you've done audio podcasts, and you had the live radio show type thing. And kind of what I wanted to ask is, you're somebody who's very lucky in that you get to work on like television shows, and pretty regularly. I know probably not as much as you'd want, but you're on television shows, but you still have this passion to do this other character. And I think a lot of people would think, oh, if I'm on a TV show, that's, you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. And you still are working on your own project. Is that something you just have to do? Like, Lolly has to be worked on?
Well, she won't let me stop.
Yeah.
It's kind of, you know what? Like I said, I love characters, and I had Lolly. Lolly's my little Phoenix Rising. I love characters so much, and that she's really taken a life of her own. And like, even in the podcast, like, Lolly has a Granny Dot. She has a Dear Diarrhea. Like, her world is like a portal of joy for me. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, and I know this sounds a little crazy, but that character has more confidence than I do. Like, I really honestly feel like art is how we collaborate with our spirits, and that little spirit, that little art side of me, is pure joy. And when I put her on, I know that my intention is true, my heart is true, and it lifts me up. And when kids hug your arm, it's like a soul hug. Like, when someone believes in a character, it's like, it's magic. So Lolly, I just have a blast with her because she has a weird sense of humor. It's kind of how I get my yayas out. We're working on our sugar addiction, but yeah, I'm working on something for Lolly now, and I'm like, I don't know. It's just a permission for joy, I guess.
Yeah. Well, if people want to go check out Lolly online, where can they go?
Okay, this is new. I'm trying to be better at social media. Grant has tried to help me with this with the years. He's been my champion, which he helped me with. Lolly's Radio Playdate is on iTunes, but you can go to lollysradioplaydate.com, but please sign up on iTunes. I haven't done that for a while, but I'm going to get up and running again. You can go to LeslieCarrara-Rudolph.com, and now we have a little place for Lolly that it says Lolly's World, but it takes you to the podcast. Mm-hmm. And then Grant helped me with wakeupyourweird.com, but I'm trying to pare down. Mm-hmm. So I think the best portal, and you can find Lolly on Facebook. Instagram, I'm Lolly Lard Pop, but I post Abby stuff and Newhart stuff. If you like dogs, you should follow me.
Yeah. Well, I will put links to all those things in the show notes, so if people want to get direct links, they can just go there. And Leslie, thank you so much for talking to us today. I appreciate it.
You can download Spunk and Sass, and Grant is on that.
Oh, that's right. Your album.
He has 2 songs that.
That's right. I'll put a link to that as well.
You should. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Leslie Carrara-Rudolph is a performer, puppeteer, actress, voiceover artist, and more. And she was today's guest on 15 Minutes With. Find out more about Leslie by visiting her website over at www.lesliecarrara-rudolph.com. 15 Minutes With on the GrantCast is a production of Saturday Morning Media and made possible by the Saturday Morning Media Patreon patrons who've gone to patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media and set up a monthly donation for as little as $1 a month. Huge thanks to Shay Stewart, Merle Lafferty, Jeff Peterson, Dale Gadania, Steven Staver, Jackie Klimo, Melissa Crawford, Chuck, Matthew Wayne Selznick, Dave Slusher of the Evil Genius Chronicles, Mike Coughlin, Dorothy Baciocco, John D., Kathy Crawford, Brian Greer, Carrie Whitney, Chuck Tomasi, Chris Foster, Stephen Ing, Clinton of ComedyForecast.com, Vicky DeVries, Mike Wabshall, Twitter user Buttsinggear, a.k.a. Wildcat, Eve Cunning, Mike Hamilton, Gaston Marino, and Reed Loveland. If you'd like to support this show and the other fun content from Saturday Morning Media, become a patron. Head on over to patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media and set up your monthly donation today. You can also tell a friend about the show or leave the show a review on iTunes. If you have feedback for the show, you can send it directly to me at grant@throwingtoasters.com or get in touch via Twitter, where my username is ToasterBoy. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon. The GrantCast is copyright 2016 Saturday Morning Media, Grant Baciocco, executive producer. All rights reserved. www.SaturdayMorningMedia.com. Elf-Centered is a monthly, completely improvised broadcast from Santa's Village. Join elves Gavin, Beatrice, and Gary as they talk about the latest goings-on from the North Pole. He has a pass to the radio station.
I know, but he's got to go through the security check.
Well, he'll be fine.
Okay.
You know Gary, drop of a hat, he'll strip down to his jingle shoes.
That's
so.
what we're worried about.
Oh.
He's been red-nosed.
Really?
Yes, he
Ew.
has. He has.
Oh, no.
Well,
Subscribe to Elf-Centered. Visit elfcenteredshow.com today. You've been listening to Saturday Morning Media. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.